Good evening and welcome to the June 12th, 2024 meeting of the Lower Merion Board of Commissioners. We have 5 meetings this evening. We have a Police Committee meeting, a Special Board of Commissioners meeting, a Grants and Community Development Committee meeting, a Public Works Committee meeting, and a Building and Planning Committee meeting. So before we start, please silence your cell phones. There's amplifying equipment available for those who are having difficulty hearing during the meeting. The room is also equipped with telecoil technology. And when the floor is open for public comment, comment will first be taken by those people who are present in the room, then we will turn to those who are attending virtually. We ask that you introduce yourself and say broadly where in the township you live before making your comments. So with that, we'll start with our first committee this evening. It's the Police Committee. I recognize its chair, Vice President Kramer.
Thank you, President Sinai. There are 2 items on the agenda, and the intent is to refer the disciplinary action item to tonight's special board meeting for action. Item 1 is an authorization to advertise an ordinance, Chapter 145, Vehicles and Traffic, Hagys Ford Road and Writers Mill Road Yield Regulation. I'll make the motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners authorizing the Township Secretary to advertise notice of intent to adopt the Township that's okay. That's okay. To amend the Code of the Township of Lower Merion, Chapter 145 thereof, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 15, Schedules, Section 145-109, Schedule 9, yield right-of-way intersections by establishing a yield right-of-way on Hagys Ford Road at the intersection of Writers Mill Road. Can I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Bernheim. Then I will open the floor for public comment and note that Superintendent Block is here to answer any questions. No? Any comment online? Okay. Anything? Oh.
If I may, thank
you. Yeah, sure.
The stop signs are already up and the right-of-way, everything's already in place.
That's correct.
Right, okay, because I thought this was part of what we already approved.
So it was brought to my attention, once the stop signs that were in the channelized intersection where the island is, and that is changed into a one-way.
Right, correct.
For eastbound Hagys Ford Road making the right, or northbound Hagys Ford making the right on the eastbound Writers Mill Road. So that's why the yield sign needs to be codified to be put in there so that there's no conflict with vehicles that are traveling southbound on Hagys Ford making the left onto Writers Mill, if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, it does, because I live around the corner and I watch people who aren't accustomed to the stop sign blow right through it while I was there on my way here this evening. So, yes, okay, but I didn't realize that this was not all part and parcel of what we did previously, but that, that makes sense, and we just have to make sure that people are aware there is a new stop sign, and then you can't, as you're going up Writers Mill Road, make that left onto Hagys Ford anymore unless you go to the stop sign.
Correct.
Right. Okay, all right. Hopefully, for the short term, we don't create more confusion because it clearly was a good idea to actually get this 4-way stop sign in place.
I agree with you 100%, and I think it's cleaned up that intersection immensely as far as conflicts and as well as crashes,
right.
And it's more pedestrian friendly.
Right, and then when we get our Director of Public Works to actually pave the road, then we'll be okay. All right.
They're working on that now. I saw them out this week.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes, Commissioner Gomez.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Bernheim who headed this up. I'm passing that intersection several times a day, and the cars are stopping from my experience, and it's much less awkward with people coming from Writers Mill. The question, at some point, now you just said it's going to be paved, the roads, are there going to be white lines for where people are supposed to stop? Because I'm seeing people, particularly those heading north, are having confusion about whether they're supposed to stop before the current V or whether it's in the V.
I will ensure with Public Works that the stop bars are put in there for reference points for the motoring public, for the drivers, so they know where to properly stop.
Yeah, thank you, but yeah, big improvement. Thank you very much.
Sure. Any other commissioner questions or comments? All right, with that, we'll call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote's unanimous, Madam Secretary. Moving on to our second item, to authorize the disciplinary action for a police officer. I'll make a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of a one-day suspension for a police officer as recommended by the township manager. May I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Gavrin. I will now open the floor for public comment. Anybody on Zoom? Okay. And I will note that Michael Pollock of Ardmore did write in regarding this item. And I'll note that Manager McNeely and Superintendent Block are able to answer any questions from commissioners. Any questions? Okay. With that, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Madam Secretary, that passes unanimously. And Mr. President, that concludes the business of the Police Committee.
Okay. Thank you, Vice President Kramer. So there we're going to go to the Special Board of Commissioners meeting. And so will the June 12th, 2024 special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Lower Merion please come to order. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Bernheim.
Present.
Mr. Churchill.
Yeah,
Yes.
Here.
Ms. Epstein. Mr. Gavin.
Present.
Mr. Grimes.
Here.
Ms. S. Kramer. Ms. D. Kramer. Here. Dr. Rossman.
Here.
Mr. Stevenson.
Present.
Mr. Whalen.
Here.
Mr. Woodring.
Here.
Mr. Zelov.
Here.
Mr. Sinai.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So this is a section of our meeting where members of the public are welcome to address the board on any agenda items. We have one, which is the police committee matter that we just heard. Does anyone in the room wish to take advantage of public comment? Okay, seeing none. Jody, anyone online looking to do public comment? Okay. So with that, we are going to just repeat the same thing, do it officially. I move that we approve a one-day suspension for a police officer as recommended by the township manager. I have a second. Thank you, Vice President Kramer. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Madam Secretary, that passes unanimously. So that meeting, the township meeting, thank you, Superintendent Block, I guess you're done.
Thank you.
Is hereby adjourned. And we will go on to the Grants and Community Development Committee, and I recognize its chair, Commissioner Epson.
We have two items on the agenda. The second item regarding residential rental rehabilitation program guidelines will be tabled at the request of staff. So our first item is the second public hearing on CDBG's 24-25 action plan budget. We're holding a second public hearing to obtain views of citizens and local organizations on the township's housing, community development needs, and recommendations for activities to fund in the 24-25 fund year 50 CDBG budget. After the public hearing, staff will seek input from the committee on whether to make amendments to the proposed budget. So we can go ahead and open that hearing. Emily Crane will provide a brief overview of the program, and then we can move to public comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Epstein. And good evening, everybody. This is the second of two public hearings that are required by HUD as part of our action plan development process for the Community Development Block Program. Still doing this. Okay, great, thank you. For those of you who are new to this, the HUD fiscal year for us runs from July 1st through June 30th, so we're just finishing up, we're about to finish up the 2023-2024 fund year. The numbers confuse people. Sometimes we're off the calendar from the township. Tonight, I will remind you quickly about the action plan process, give you a brief accounting of how we did this year that's about to end, and then share with you the proposed 2024-2025 funding budget. And also, for some of you may remember that we run on a 5-year program actually with HUD. We have a 5-year consolidated plan. This is the 5th year. This is the 5th action plan in this consolidated plan. So later this year we will be starting the process of preparing a new consolidated plan. But that's later this year. So this is the 5th year. We began this action plan process by holding an information session for all interested parties in January. Potential applicants were strongly encouraged, I should say, to attend the session as we spent time discussing what it means to submit a complete application, how to determine project eligibility, and reviewing the significant reporting requirements of actually receiving a grant. We held the first public hearing in February, and this was an opportunity for the commissioners to hear from citizens and organizations about housing and community development needs in the township, and perhaps ways in which they see those needs being met or not met by different organizations and programs. The applications for 24-25 were due later that week, were reviewed by staff and also by our consultants at Urban Design Ventures before being presented and discussed with the Grants and Community Development Committee. You are not required to do anything tonight. This is a public hearing. There will be another meeting on the 10th of July, at which time any changes can be made or addressed, and then the board will be required or asked to approve the action plan at the July 17th meeting, which will give us time to submit it to HUD by the August 15th deadline. So before I dive into the 2024-2025 budget, I'll give you a quick rundown of how we did this year. As I said, this program year is ending in about 2.5 weeks. I won't go into all the details, but just to give you the big picture. Under the public services category, we've spent about $152 of the $158,000 was allocated this year, so we're real close on that. For the home rehab, for the owner-occupied rehab program, we've spent about $356,000 this year over 11 different projects, which are in varying states of completion, from totally complete to just starting. That number includes $78,000 in lead and asbestos remediation and testing. We allocated $110,000 to the library last year for a ramp replacement, ADA ramp replacement, and although no money has gone out the door, that is starting imminently, so that's going well. For the curb cuts, we've spent approximately $269,000 this year on curb cuts around the township, designing and rebuilding them to bring them up to current ADA standards. The home purchase program this year, since we last met, we have sold a house that was purchased and sold a house to a family in Wynwood, a family of 5, and purchased another house in Bryn Mawr, which needs a little bit of rehab and hopefully will be resold by the end of this summer to a family, a first-time home purchasing family. So in total, with admin and some of the projects not mentioned, the township has spent about $1.4 million in the current HUD fiscal year. That obviously includes some spending of some of last year's funds, because that is bigger than our budget was for this year. So this year, for this current, the 5th year of our 5th action plan in this consolidated plan, the allocation we received this year is $985,000, $985,310, which is up actually approximately $21,000 from last year. Our allocation's gone up and down a little bit over the last 10 years, and this year it's up a little. It was a nice surprise. We are proposing a budget of $1,011,161 this year, which includes $25,851 in program income from 2023. And we'll talk about program income in a minute. As I said, the next fund year starts on July 1st, so we're a little closer to the deadline than we usually are at this meeting. HUD was delayed in releasing allocations, and we were encouraged to put off our process until we knew what our allocation would actually be, which is why we're having this meeting in June instead of April. Again, just another quick reminder, all of the money we spend has to fall under one of 3 national objectives as defined by HUD. And those are providing benefit to low and moderate income persons, elimination of slum and blight, and urgent need. And all of the money we're proposing all goes under providing benefit to low and moderate income persons. And that's almost always true for us. The categories of spending are administration and planning, public services, rehabilitation and housing, public works, and economic development. The 2 categories that have a cap, a spending cap, are admin and planning, and that's a 20% cap. We're only allowed to spend 20% of the total grant on admin and planning. And the public services has a 15% cap, so only 15% of the total budget. For public services, which is a very popular category, and we're limited to a small amount. We are allowed to increase that a little bit depending on the program income that we receive in the prior year. So any money that we got back from any projects that were put out usually comes back from liens on homes if they're worked on, and then the home gets sold and we get money back. That can go towards increasing our public services amount. So we can bump up our public services this year by about $25,800. So I'll start with admin. We have 4 activities being funded under admin and planning this year. The first is the general administration and planning, which covers staff salaries, the cost of retaining HUD consultant to help us navigate HUD, and the cost of advertising for a lot of the meetings that we have to do. The big picture for administration this year is $195,000, and we're actually close to the cap on that. We almost never are, but this year we are. We put in a little bit of extra money for admin this year because of the 5-year consolidated plan process that has to start later this year. The second one is the Housing Equality Center. The Housing Equality Center provides trainings and outreach about fair housing and provides resources and counseling to victims of housing discrimination. And we're proposing funding them at $8,500. Lower Merion Affordable Housing. This funding will assist Lower Merion. We're proposing $15,000 in funding to Lower Merion Affordable, and this will assist them with the cost of their admin in working to create new affordable housing opportunities in the township. We are proposing a $2,000 grant to Ardmore Initiative for a board training that they are working on that may assist in identifying and working with staff, identifying projects and working with staff to implement job creation programs. So that's the admin and planning. The next is public services. Like I said, we're able to bump that up a little bit this year because I left my totals at the table. Anyway, the beginning of public services, we're able to bump it up by $25,000. So I'm going to just quickly run through all the organizations that we're looking to fund. We do have 4 new organizations that we're funding this year, so that's exciting. The Ardmore Avenue Community Center, we're looking to fund at $102,000. These funds are used for recreational activities for youth and adult at a community center that serves a low and moderate income area of the township. So we're looking at $102,000 for that. The minibus program provides transportation for seniors and youth and adults with mental and physical challenges to various cultural, social, and recreational trips. That is run through the Parks and Rec Department as well. And we're proposing $3,500 in funding for that this year, which you may or may not note is down a little bit from last year. It's been a little bit less used since COVID. It's moving back up, but we funded it slightly lower because they haven't been using all of it in the past couple of years. Then we have 2 programs through Eldernet, the escort driver program. Eldernet has a strong volunteer program, and they're able to provide rides for a lot of seniors, coordinate rides for seniors with volunteers to various medical appointments. And when they're not able to get a volunteer, they can call a cab, and they use the funds from this program to cover the cost of that. We also fund their care management program. The proposed budget for that is $8,000, and this helps support the salary of one of the full-time social workers who assist seniors with a myriad of issues, including navigating resources that might be available to them and helping their families figure out how they can stay in their homes. The next one is the POM. We're also looking to fund at $8,000. It's a senior center that's located in Ardmore. You probably all know of it. They offer lunch and community and classes to seniors in the neighborhood. And this funding goes towards the cost of exercise and art classes for the seniors who go there. The Montgomery County Women's Center. These funds are used to support victims of domestic abuse. The center provides shelter, advocacy, counseling for victims, and training for police, social service providers, and hospital personnel on domestic violence issues. And we are funding them at $4,000. New Horizons Senior Center provides funding to staff coordinator for senior programming at the center. Also provides meals, community, classes, social events for seniors. Neighbors Helping Neighbors provides this funding. Did I say $6,000 to the senior center? Neighbors Helping Neighbors is proposed at $8,000. Provides funding to their staff who work with township residents who are dealing with issues like food insecurity. They also do job training and other things to help out the people in the community who need it. Meals on Wheels is being funded at $8,000. They are a new organization this year. They provide meals to seniors for whom it's difficult to get out of their homes to get meals. This does come with a fee, but they are able to provide some seniors free service. So hopefully this funding will allow them to increase the number of seniors that they can fund to receive this food for free. Episcopal Legal Aid is also a new applicant this year. They hold free legal clinics in various churches around our community in Philadelphia, all around. They have one in Ardmore every month at the St. Mary's Church, and they're looking for funding to start an additional clinic each month in Bala, so they'll now have 2 different locations within the township. The Kaiserman JCC is looking for funding to add to their adult exercise classes specifically geared towards seniors. Also a new applicant. They received a planning grant before, but this is their first time in the public services pot. And lastly, Surrey Services, who have just moved into Lower Merion and have a location at the Bryn Mawr Presbyterian Church. And they're looking for funding to support the job creation program, which they've done before in other locations. And they are going to continue that here in Lower Merion, training people to be professional caregivers and also individuals looking to become caregivers for a family member. So that is the public services group. Sorry, that was a mouthful. And we're looking at funding them for $8,000. Apologize if I didn't say that. The next category is Public Works, and this funding is $150,000 going towards the continued effort to upgrade all of the curb cuts in the township to be ADA compliant. Economic Development, we have $20,000 towards a facade restoration program. In the past, we've run a facade program. It's been down for the last couple of years, but we're looking to create new guidelines to keep that going. So guidelines are in process for that. And then the housing and rehab. For owner-occupied housing, we have we're proposing allocating $252,000, $161, and that goes to both the soft costs, which include lead and asbestos testing, or risk assessment as they call it, and for relocating homeowners who are having lead and other work done to their homes and can't stay there while their work is being done. And then the hard costs are for the actual construction work. And for anyone who doesn't know, this program is for homeowners in the township who are living in their homes and need help making repairs or rehabbing. They can apply and we can fix up their homes. It has a $25,000 declining balance lien, and anything over that becomes a permanent lien. Sometimes when those houses are sold and that money comes back to us, that's where the program income comes from. We also have the home purchase program, which is where we buy, with the help of Lower Merion Affordable Housing, we fund them actually to buy a house in the township. We do any necessary rehab work and resell it to a first-time low and moderate income home buyer. This program's been running for 15 years now, I think, and all of the homes that have been sold are still lived in by the original buyer, so it's going very well. And lastly, we have the rental rehab program that is funded at $50,000. This is the program I was planning on going over the guidelines for this program with you tonight, but in my final conversations with our consultants, it appears there are a few questions about lead, and we want to make sure we get those regulations really right before we bring them to you, so we'll come back to you with that later. And that brings the budget to $161,011,161, and that is it.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. And Emily mentioned it, but I want to just call out that it was a goal for this committee and for Emily to get new people, get new organizations in, applying for money for new organizations, did apply, and her support, I think, is, should be commended in getting that done, and everyone who applied is funded, which I think is pretty outstanding, so thank you. Do we have any public comment in the room? Come on up.
I was here at the last public hearing, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update as far as where we stand. The last time I spoke a lot about statistics about our organization. Just to highlight, we've been in the neighborhood since 1972. We deliver meals to individuals at home. They are always freshly made that morning. It's a hot meal, it's a cold meal, and it's a bowl of soup to individuals who are homebound. We have 160 folks that we provide meals to. About 60 of those are within the Lower Merion area. Of those, about half of them are subsidized. They're subsidized from anywhere from $5, or let's say 60% of the meal cost, down to up to 100%. I thought I'd kind of put a personal side information to you about it. We've got 3 folks within Lower Merion Township that we're subsidizing currently. The first person came on board in May of this year. She lives right down the road on Lancaster Avenue within the business district. She's only 40 years old. Having said that, she has no income because she lost her job a year ago. She's on Medicaid. She receives food stamps. She's applied for Social Security and hasn't received a decision yet. She falls into the extremely low income in the HUD limits. She has large, deep wounds down to the bone on her right arm, from the elbow to the wrist, and also on her leg from the knee to the ankle. Obviously, she can't walk, uses a walker or a cane, and therefore it's difficult for her to get out to the store. Imagine if we weren't delivering meals to her. How would she get her food? She had surgery last fall, and the surgeon said the wounds are going to take, obviously, a very long time to heal if they ever do completely. She has a nurse that comes to the home 3 times a week to change the dressing on the wounds and to help her shower and take care of her personal needs. We have a second individual on Grandview Road, yes, within Lower Merion Township. They've been on board since January of 2024. They were referred to us by State Senator Capoletti's office. This individual, he's 65 now, but he was 64 at the time. He had to take out early Social Security due to illness. I believe it was long COVID that hit him pretty hard. He was on Medicaid for 3 years, but he was not able to get it extended. He was without health insurance for a while and has only since April been able to apply for Medicare. His only income is $1,200 a month. And just for a point of reference, the 2024 federal poverty limit for a family of 1 is $1,255. So you can see how his hardships are quite extreme, and again falls into the extremely low income level of the HUD guidelines. He can't walk due to severe pain in his legs and needs physical therapy. He's had surgery in his vocal cord to insert a stent. And even with all of that burden, he says he hopes Meals on Wheels delivery will only be temporary until he's back on his feet and can look for work. So a second person who the intention is not to take advantage of the system, but just needs a helping hand for right now. And the third person lives in Ardmore on Landfair Road, 88 years old, legally blind and homebound, has additional health issues. He's had a stroke, he has heart conditions, has had stents inserted, has prostate cancer, glaucoma, and now is incurring high dental costs. His monthly income is a little bit higher. He's got Social Security and a pension, but still falls into the low income of the HUD guidelines. He used to get meals delivered from another source, but they changed to all frozen, which doesn't work for him being blind. Again, our meals are provided, they are made freshly in that morning that we deliver them. We operate out of Bryn Mawr Hospital, and it's the same kitchen, the same food that everybody can access in the cafeteria that goes out to our individuals, regardless of whether or not they're on subsidy or not. We don't discriminate whether or not you're on subsidy or not, the quality of food. So we are fully supported by a significant number of volunteers as well, and we wouldn't be able to do what we could without the folks that live in the Lower Merion Township area in order to deliver as well. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone present and everyone online. My name is Manira Walker, and I'm the founder and executive director of Neighbors Helping Neighbors on the Main Line, 104 Holland Avenue, Ardmore, PA. I just wanted to take a moment to thank the committee for the recommendation and to thank you, Board of Commissioners, for your consideration in the funding again this year of our organization. Like Erica mentioned from Meals on Wheels, we also assist people who are not we don't plan for them to need assistance for the long haul. We work with them just as closely to get them to be able to sustain themselves and to advocate for themselves and to propel themselves and their families further. So the assistance that you all have been giving us has been vital in us being able to do that, and we do truly appreciate it. I also would like to say that along with our food security program and just our programs in general, having the close connection to the community has allowed us, even just this year, to assist the police department and the library system with members of our unhoused community who have had some more serious situations that needed some figuring out from someone who knows the community and knows the people. We've also been very proud to assist with some affordable housing solutions and some rehabilitation housing, temporary placement solutions, and things like that, where it just, again, takes someone who really just knows certain things about the community that really can lend to the conversation and enhance the work that everyone's doing. So we're very proud with all the partnerships, and we look forward to working with you continually. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Carolyn Steinhofer. I'm with the Housing Equality Center of Pennsylvania. Thank you all so much for supporting us over the years. And we look forward to continuing to provide fair housing services to Lower Merion Township residents, to housing providers, to nonprofit agencies. The services that we provide help people to stay in their homes. If they need a reasonable accommodation or a reasonable modification due to a disability, we can assist them with that. We can also answer questions if they're experiencing any landlord-tenant problems and provide them with some guidance. Recently, we provided a training to the Women's Center of Montgomery County addressing issues in housing that are most often experienced by victims of domestic violence and how to ensure that survivors of domestic violence don't have their fair housing rights violated. In addition, we provide technical assistance. So housing providers will contact us and ask us how to ensure that they're complying with all applicable local, state, and federal fair housing laws. We've also provided assistance to Lower Merion Township officials to ensure that they're in compliance with fair housing laws with various issues like with code enforcement and problem properties. So we thank you for the opportunity and appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Steve Chihuaga, the Executive Director of Episcopal Legal Aid. We are an applicant for funding this year. We hold about a dozen clinics throughout Philadelphia and Delaware and Montgomery County, where once a month we provide civil legal aid and assistance to people of limited economic means. Here in Lower Merion Township, we provide the service in Ardmore. To my knowledge, we're the only provider of free civil legal aid in Lower Merion Township. In Ardmore, we see a wide variety of clients who have a host of issues ranging from Social Security problems to landlord-tenant issues to matters involving family law. But I'll just take a minute. I want to highlight something that I think is particularly essential to the work that we do, and that is to address the pervasive problem of tangled titles in the area. So a tangled title occurs when somebody lives in a house they don't own. Usually it's owned by their parents or grandparents, but there was no will left, there was no deed transfer, and it's not a problem until the occupant wants to get a mortgage or sell the house or some other claimant is made. We address that issue in two ways. On the front end, we write a lot of wills for people who otherwise don't have access to will writing attorneys or can't afford to pay for one. And if you have a will and you leave your house to somebody, then there's no tangled title. We also address the issue on the back end. We do help people whose parents or even grandparents own the house to start an estate in Norristown, even years later, work with them to kind of patch the title back together and then convey it to somebody who can then carry it forward and with a will pass it down. So we're delighted to provide these services. We're delighted to have an opportunity in Lower Merion to do so. With some additional funding, we can hire an additional attorney and do 2 clinics where we're now only doing 1. So that's the gist of what we're after. So thank you very much for your past support, and I appreciate this opportunity to address you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alan Scher. I'm the proud CEO of the Kaiserman JCC, one of the new institutions mentioned earlier. I wanted to echo the sentiment additionally that was articulated by each and every one of you. Emily has been a tremendous steward and partner in bringing us into this fold, and we feel particularly grateful for her leadership, her partnership, her wisdom, and wonderful collaboration. So thank you, Emily. Also wanted to thank and appreciate each and every one of you for your consideration of this funding. Kaiserman JCC has invested significant dollars over the course of the last year in serving older adults, and that's because of your inspiration, the work that you have done as a group to articulate the needs coherently of this community is a clarion call for us as a community center. And such, we made the intentional effort this past fall to merge with a smaller nonprofit that was focused on serving older adults, knowing that older adults would increasingly become more and more of a strategic priority for our institution. We're proud as a result of that investment of over $500,000 that we've made from our coffers, from the generosity of our donors, and that impact has been tremendous. We've seen a 5-fold increase in the services that we've been able to provide older adults in incredibly meaningful ways. And this potential opportunity here with the township will only amplify our opportunity to provide what we are increasingly referring to as lifestyle medicine. How do we ensure our community can be well, live vibrant, rich lives? Wellness is really a core component, and our work at the Kaiserman JCC does that in very impactful ways, both from a physical standpoint but also an emotional standpoint. I'm routinely told in the conversations that I have with the older adults I get to interact with, privileged to do so on a daily basis, that this work is not only providing ways in which they can be healthier, but ways in which they can find community, find meaning, and find a consistent reason to get out of bed every morning and continue to thrive. So thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the impact that you can provide and the catalytic experience that we can provide here at the Kaiserman JCC. In gratitude.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rich Stein. I'm the new executive director of New Horizons Senior Center, which has been part of the community since 1976, so almost a half a century, 48 years. Like everybody who's come before me, I want to thank you all for considering us and providing us with the opportunity to expand our services and the number of people that we're able to provide programming and meals to on a regular basis. We have a nominal membership fee that we charge, but we never turn anybody away. Otherwise, we don't charge for any of the programming or services that we offer. We have never done so. And it's a tough business model, but we'd like to maintain that. That requires, in order to be sustainable, that requires that we do a lot of fundraising. We've had a presence in this community, as I've said, for nearly a half a century, and we are pretty well known, but I want to make sure that we are even better known. So I just, again, with extreme gratitude, I just want to say a hearty thank you to you for all the support that you've offered over the years, and we look forward to this partnership growing. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? That was a good run. Everyone else feeling really good? Okay. Is there anyone on Zoom? Okay. So now we can move to comments from the committee. I just want to start by thanking, those of you who spoke and those who are in the hallway or weren't able to come tonight, for what you do in our community is so important. This is really joyful to be able to support you in any way. And I do almost nothing, very little, but Emily I know has been working hard, and so we appreciate you. Any comments from the committee? I dare you to say no. No, sorry. President Sine.
I'll go though. To largely echo what you said so articulately, and that's thank you to all the applicants who are who are here, and that's all of them, apparently, because they're all getting funding, which is terrific. And I especially wanted to congratulate and thank Emily and Commissioner Epstein for chairing this committee, for bringing in new entities, right? And it should be mentioned that the list of funding that you see here is not the only funding that happens in this township. We fund also out of the general fund a little later in the year. But 3 of the 4 also are new to township funding, period. And I should note that none of these organizations are new to the township, right? They are new to being funded by us, and it's great to see that expansion happen. They may have participated in the ARP, but they have not participated in the funding otherwise, and that's great to support, to be able to support so much good work that's being done here. So thanks, and I'm delighted to support this, and I appreciate you pulling this together for us.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Commissioner Kramer.
I know that in the past we've had discussions about the fact that we are funding only a percentage of the requests from the community organizations, and at the same time we are essentially funding the township's functions for Parks and Recreation. I know we've discussed in the past that we can't eliminate that completely, but I'd like to know if there any reason why we could not lower the item for the Ardmore Avenue Community Center, partially fund staff salaries, and subsidize that to a greater extent from our general fund, and take some of that money towards the $42,790, as I calculated it, of unfunded requests from the community service organizations.
So, do you want to grab the one, or I can?
Well, I can sort of answer this. Mr. McNeely might be able to answer it better than I can, but I believe that that's an issue that needs to be addressed in the larger budget of the township. But, maybe you're going to. Before we can do that, but there has to be a decision somewhere in the budget to fund the Ardmore Avenue Community Center first, as I understand it.
It would have to be the secondary consideration. It would have to be brought up in a primary budget discussion first, and then we could address it, but we can't reduce here yet. Okay. We could look at that later.
Thank you.
It's certainly something the board could talk about in the future as a part of the budget process. You've over the years, cut the funding for the community center to about 25% or less of the costs at the community center. At one point, it was funded over $400,000 and some a year, but that's a policy decision the board can make as a part of the budgetary process.
I wasn't suggesting that we not fund this, but that we fund it out of the general fund as part of the Parks and Recreation budget, as opposed to taking it out of the CDBG funds.
Understood.
And also, just for the funding difference, I just want to jump in for a second. I asked questions about that, and I was really impressed by how Emily worked to look at what was actually being spent and to fund what she saw the need to be, with a little bit of padding that I think was appropriate. So the requested amount versus what we're suggesting is not just random. It's very thoughtful as to what the need actually is and can be used. Any other comments? Yes, sorry. Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Chairperson Epstein. I just want to thank all the representatives from the organizations who came to speak. They humble us as members of this community to remind us the needs of our community. One of the false narratives that we have, this assumption that Lower Marion does not have certain needs, and I'm proud of our community, and I'm proud of our township to partner with you to provide the support needed. So thank you for all the work you do, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Commissioner Zelov.
Thank you, Commissioner Epstein. Emily, is there enough money in the line item for the residential rehab program? It's $70,000 less than a year ago. Residential rehab program is the best affordable housing program in the township and has been for 50 years. This is year 50 coming up for this CDBG funding program. we use the funds to renovate the existing housing stock with established and determined verified needs. And it goes a long way towards maintaining affordable housing that exists in our township.
So we have, it should be enough money. We have other money that is holding over from prior year in that category. We also have, I know I'm about to get a big chunk of money back from a house that's being sold, so that's going to go right back into the housing. So we can redirect that a little bit based on where the program income is coming from and where we can put it. So I know we have some money coming back in to that program that will actually maybe even put it a little bit higher than last year.
Thanks for that explanation. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, seeing none, we can close that public hearing. Thank you so much, Emily, and everyone who spoke. Now, I would just like to motion to table the item Residential Rental Rehabilitation Program Guideline Approval. Can I get a second on tabling that? Thank you, Commissioner Woodring. And then I guess we can just call for the vote, because we're talking about it. So it's just one of these. So all those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you very much, and that is the business of the Grants Community Development Committee. We have concluded.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Epstein. With that, we turn to the Public Works Committee. I recognize the Chair, Commissioner Whelan.
President Simon. Public Works tonight, we have two matters. First matter, I will start with a motion. This is with regard to a revision to the official sewage facilities plan at 1400 Mill Creek Road. So I will make a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners the adoption of a resolution revising the official sewage facilities plan by accepting a sewage facilities plan module submitted by C.F. Holloway III and Company in connection with the 1400 Mill Creek Road development for the installation of a new on-site private pump station and force main to connect to the existing River Road common low-pressure force main system and authorizing the submission of the revised official sewage facilities plan to the Department of Environmental Protection for approval. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Grimes. With this, since I'm going to only embarrass myself here, I knew half the words that I just said and what they mean, so I'm going to ask Joe Mastronardo if you could give us maybe a quick primer so I don't look so silly up here.
No problem. Good evening, everyone. This is a part of the sewage facility plan model application to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. The application has been reviewed by our office, and it involves the extension of the existing low-pressure sanitary sewer, public sanitary sewer system that the township has installed several years ago on River Road to provide public sewer service to the development, the anticipated development at 1400 Mill Creek Road. So this extends public sewer underneath the railroad, up Mill Creek Road to the property at 1400. There are two residential properties that it will front along the way that could eventually tie into the system. They'll make provisions, and they have included that in the application. And then the development at 1400 Mill Creek involves a 33-unit conversion of the Barker's Mill site. So, with this resolution passed, then we can complete the application to DEP. The capacity has the capacity is available in the township system once the sewer is extended, and the capacity has already been certified by the City of Philadelphia for treatment. The last step in the process is to get the 537 approval from this board forwarded to DEP for final approval.
Thank you very much. With that, any questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none. Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none. I will call this matter to a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any in opposition? Seeing none. Jody, it passes unanimously. All right. And secondly, we're going to move on to, I'm sure, a hotly debated topic, reappointments to the Shade Tree Commission. I will begin with a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners the following reappointments to the Shade Tree Commission. First, for James McKee for a 5-year term, such term to expire December 2028. And second, for Barry Jeffries for a 5-year term, such term to expire February of 2029. I have a second from Commissioner Gavin. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from anyone on the committee? Commissioner Gavin.
Just very quickly, I have the honor of chairing this board's ad hoc nominations committee. And so part of that is interviewing and talking with the volunteers within our community who want to serve on a number of these various advisory boards. We are blessed, as we've said numerous times through the years on this dais, blessed with amazing residents in this township who give of their time to help make this a better community. I want to thank Mr. McKee and Mr. Jeffries and everyone in the Shade Tree Commission for their work on that commission, and doing the vital work of supporting the tree canopy within our community, because it is of vital importance. So thank you, and I'm thrilled to support them for another 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none. Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? I'm going to call out Commissioner Rossman, who decided not to vote, so 1 abstention. Gotcha. I'm going to call that unanimous, Jody.
Thank you.
And with that, President Sinai, we conclude Public Works for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Whalen. We'll have to move Commissioner Rossman in the end over there. So our next committee is a Building and Planning Committee meeting, but before we start that, have a sad piece of business to attend to. And that is that Karen Nagel, who was a longtime member of our Historical Commission, recently passed away. So Karen was an original member of the Historical Commission, was founded in 2000. And then she was in her 3rd term of service when she passed away. And before we go to a moment of silence, I'm going to ask Commissioner Zelov to say a few words.
Thank you, President Sinai. Karen Nagel was a longtime resident of Booth Lane in Haverford, and as President Sinai said, she served on the Historic Commission since its inception 24 years ago. She made significant contributions to historic preservation in Lower Merion Township over the course of many decades. She was a founding member of the Lower Merion Preservation Trust, which was the predecessor organization to what is today the Lower Merion Conservancy. She was on that board for 26 years. She was a longtime member of the Appleford Committee and the Lower Merion Historical Society. She received a preservation award from our Historic Architectural Review Board. Among the historic properties that Karen helped to save was the Frank Furness designed Gerhard building at Bryn Mawr Hospital. Karen also contributed to the enormous effort to document the township's historic resources, a process that led to the creation of the Historic Resource Inventory and the Historic Commission, which was created in 2000. She was an accomplished architectural historian who prepared countless dossiers of historic houses throughout the area. This township will always benefit from the work of Karen Nagel to research, document, and protect our historic heritage. We remember Karen Nagel for her unwavering support of historic preservation and for promoting architectural history throughout Lower Merion. Karen Nagel passed away this past Thursday, June 6th, at age 77. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zelov. As is customary here, whenever someone who has been serving the township in voluntary capacity passes away, I ask that you join me, stand for a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you. Our remaining committee meeting for this evening is the Building and Planning Committee, and I recognize its chair, Commissioner Grimes.
Thank you, President Sinai. The first building and planning matter tonight is a public hearing and authorization to approve a liquor license transfer to 36 Greenwood Avenue in Ardmore. Brandon, you want to give us the rundown on this?
Certainly, Commissioners. Before you have consideration to authorize a resolution to approve a transfer of a liquor license identified as R14067 to Osushi Japanese Restaurant at 36 Greenfield Avenue in Ardmore from outside the township. This is a license R liquor license, which is typically for restaurants where the service of alcohol products is a secondary service, with food service being the primary as customary in restaurants. Transfers from one municipality to another, such as is this case where the license is being transferred from the restaurant's former location in Collegeville, Lower Providence Township to Lower Marion Township, is governed by the PA Liquor Control Board, where every municipality in the state is given a quota, and when that municipality is over that quota, the local elected bodies, such as yourselves, must approve the transfer into the township. Currently, there are 4 G brewery licenses, 1 GP brew pub license, and 41 R restaurant liquor license in the township. If approved, this township is located within the township and cannot be transferred out of the township for a period of 5 years.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So with that, I am going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to offer public comment on this matter? Sir, if you want, you can come up. Just so you know, for this, and if anyone's here for additional items, we generally ask you to limit your comments to about 3 minutes. You can give it to the Township Secretary, please, or to Brandon. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name's Anthony Beldicos. I have with me Wei Lee. He's the owner of Osushi Japanese Restaurant, LLC. It is an existing restaurant in the township. It's been here since 2021. It's located at 36 Greenfield Avenue, around the corner. It's a lease from the owner of the strip center there. It is open 7 days a week from approximately 11 a.m. till 9:30 p.m. Employs 20 persons. I have pictures of and renderings of the location, inside, outside, and a copy of the menu. It's a full service menu. I had dinner there tonight and it was pretty good. There are approximately 86 seats now, and he's currently has a permit to expand next door to add a service bar with some seats in front to enhance the operation for his customers, many of whom bring wine with them when they come to eat, especially on weekends, as a BYOB. So it's a need that he's trying to fill by virtue of bringing the R license in. The neighborhood there is commercial, as you know. Target date for the addition of the bar area is October of 2024. He has a lease with the landlord, and he's already started building that out. Naturally, his servers and he, as the owner, will take the RAMP training program, which is responsible alcohol management, mandatory training for all servers and the owner, manager. And we're here to ask you to consider the transfer of the license into the township. I don't have anything else.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to offer public comment? Anyone online with public comment? Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing, and we will now move to the rest of this matter. I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners adoption of a resolution authorizing the transfer of a liquor license to 36 Greenfield Avenue in Ardmore from a location outside the township. Thank you, Commissioner Gavrin, for the second. Are there any commissioner comments, questions on this matter? Commissioner Whalen, please.
I'm smiling at you, so you think I have a comment. I don't. I would simply say I applaud our restaurants expanding, and I wish you all the luck here. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm fully in support of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, but anyone on, well, Commissioner Churchill, see, he does not. Sorry, but before the vote, I just want to quickly make a comment. I support this transfer, but I had raised with staff and with President Sinai earlier a larger matter that I just want to discuss briefly. We have gotten over the years and recently several requests to transfer liquor license into the township. I believe the most recent ones have all been supermarkets, of which we've had several supermarkets bring a liquor license in the township. And where we are now, the Liquor Control Board has a quota of 1 liquor license for every 3,000 residents. So in a township with our 2020 census of being 63,600 residents, that would be about 21 liquor licenses. We now have 41 restaurant licenses, and in addition to the other licenses, yes, some are applauding, that's fine. I was going to out you, but it's okay. And the issue is that this liquor license, it's fine. But to me, the challenge is that once we bring a liquor license into the township, we don't have any, if this restaurant or any liquor licensees wishes to transfer their license to another restaurant in the township, it doesn't come before the Board of Commissioners. And so we have no say. So we're bringing in new licenses and potentially could be taken to a part of the township, it could be sold to a part of the township where there are already a lot of liquor licenses, and this board, except for our zoning laws, has no control over approval of the liquor license at that point. So I mention it because I had suggested that we look into whether we could in the future, if this comes up again, do an agreement with the license holder as part of their transfer, that if they wish to transfer it out, that the township would have some say. And this is frankly a question for liquor license lawyers, of which I don't claim to be, and our solicitor doesn't have that expertise. So I guess I'm mentioning the issue because if it comes up again, I may ask that we give it more consideration. Again, so we don't end up with a lot of licenses in one particular portion of town that we can't control. So anyone else comments? Okay, I will call the vote on this. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hands. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you and thank you. Sure. The next matter is the escrow fund release. There are 3. Do any commissioners have any that they wish to be individually considered? Seeing none, I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to release funds held in escrow as improvement guarantees in accordance with Section 135-7 of the Township Code for the following: 225 East Montgomery Avenue escrow release number 7 for $14,400, 23 City Avenue French International School escrow release number 4 for $8,193, and 255 Fairhill Road escrow release number 1 for $9,680. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Whalen. Any commissioner questions, comments? Is there any public comment on this matter? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand, signifying aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Next matter concerns the waiver of the Township Code for the Ardmore Initiative and event in Shafla Plaza. The applicant has requested that we table this to a date uncertain, so I will move that this matter be tabled to a date uncertain. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice President Kramer. We will call the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand signifying aye. Any opposed? Commissioner Stevenson, do you oppose?
No, I was just voting twice again, sorry.
Oh, okay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next is the tentative sketch for 727 and 731 Montgomery Avenue, which is on page 20 of the agenda. Now, I've been told to call on Mr. Doyle. You don't look like Mr. Doyle, but Jillian, if you'd like to discuss this.
Yes. I have a short presentation for you. Thank you. As you said, this is a tentative sketch application. The subject properties are located in Penn Valley along Montgomery Avenue commercial corridor. The applicant is seeking to consolidate the two parcels into one 16,000 square foot parcel and demolish all existing structures and improvements. This shows the existing conditions located at 727 and 731 Montgomery Avenue. The proposal includes the construction of a two-story office building with a 6,000 square foot footprint and 868 square feet of retail space on the ground level fronting Montgomery Avenue. The plans also include 24 at-grade parking spaces located beneath the building, underground stormwater management system, and an improvement to a shared common driveway. The applicant has submitted a number of elevations. This is the front elevation showing the proposed building, side elevations, as well as the rear elevations of the building. In staff's review, we had identified a number of opportunities, and conditions have been included to work with the applicant on the streetscape, specifically to work with staff to redesign the streetscape amenities, including increasing the sidewalk width and landscape verge, and maintaining clear access to the driveway sightlines, ensuring that the landscape verge contain vegetation that does not inhibit sightlines, and including street furniture where appropriate along the sidewalk in the streetscape. Also with circulation, we included a number of recommendations, including a pathway that provides access from the front to the rear of the property for pedestrians, which does not require them to walk in the driveway, as well as designating a separate area to ensure that the common driveway provides for safe access to a side entrance of the adjacent property. And lastly, there are a number of conditions relating to building design to ensure compliance with the storefront standards that are required in the zoning code, and to work with the applicant to identify materials that are consistent and complementary to the existing Penn Valley Commercial District. The board is making a recommendation on the tentative sketch. The applicant is here and accepts all of the conditions as proposed. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any commissioner questions, comments? Commissioner Bernheim.
Yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner Guys. First, Christian, I want to thank you because I've spent some time talking to the applicant who constantly wanted me to go see the property. I said I know it very well, happened to represent the prior owners. The fact that they are knocking that down and putting up structure, I think I said to them, even if you put up a tent, it'd be an improvement. And I know that you all have, yeah, right. I know that you all have been working with them so that we could get something that you know, fits well within the vision that we had. And you know, this is a substantial undertaking that they're doing. There are, when they sent me the floor plan, I've had 7 or 8 exam rooms, infusion rooms. You know, this is going to be an active facility. I think when we had the concept of the village center in mind, it was more something people were going to be walking to. This is going to be automobiles in and out. So we need to know exactly, you know, what we are getting in connection with this. But it certainly will be an improvement from what exists there currently, and hopefully will add something, you know, into the area. They heard me say it, and I know board members have heard me say it. I've referred to this area as the stepchild of the township, that it doesn't seem to get, some attention. Years past, Chris and I met with Narberth to try to work on both sides of the street, so to speak, in order to improve the area. So anything that's taking place, I view as positive. It's a substantial investment, and hopefully with some of the streetscape ideas that I've heard recently, that can be implemented, and so it'll have, a nice appearance, and we'll have to deal with the reality of traffic in and traffic out and work with that over time. So, thank you.
Thank you. President Sinai.
Thanks, Commissioner Grimes, and I echo Commissioner Bernheim in that this is an area that needs investment. These properties are long since overdue for redevelopment, and I think and I agree with him that this is going to be an improvement. I put on another hat here, which is the the one that you've consistently heard me say, which is improvement. Making it better is not just enough, right? We should be about making it best, because one thing that we will see is that whatever gets built here, like the buildings that are currently there, are going to be there a long time, well past their due date. And so we should be mindful up front to make sure that whatever is invested is invested with a very clear eye to what we're trying, everyone's trying to accomplish in this area. And I think it can be done because sort of just down the street and across the way is a 3-story apartment building with ground floor retail that probably fits more with the concept of what we had imagined Village Center being, and not quite the massing of what Narberth has put in, but like the same sort of idea, really kind of pedestrian oriented. And I said, not everything has to be a pedestrian use, but it does seem like it needs to be pedestrian oriented. And I know that's what you've been working on. And so I guess one of the things that has confused me is that the elevations you showed don't show any trees. I think what the overhead that you showed that staff came up with does show some trees. Maybe you could explain what's going on there, because number one, to make it walkable, we need trees, and number two, we know that large trees on the edge of the street help slow traffic down. And this whole stretch, I think everyone agrees, is pretty barren right now. But what we're trying to do is make it not that, right? And so what will be done?
They're required to put in 4 street trees. Because of the location of the common shared driveway, there is sight line issue. So the trees would be located further in as appropriate, but would be along the frontage. So I always think it's best to have trees in a landscape verge between you and cars going 30 miles an hour. That's the most comfortable application for me. However, in these scenarios, you put the trees on the other side, and that provides a nice, comfortable shaded area for pedestrians walking down the street. Elevations don't include any landscaping at all.
At this stage, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
however, the landscape plan will be submitted with preliminary plan, and we have a number of conditions included in our recommendations here that are hopefully going to guide the applicant in how they design that landscape plan.
Okay, and I guess if the trees are in the verge and they're street trees, they're kind of like ours and required.
Sorry?
I guess the question is, if the trees are not in the verge, if they're on the other side of the sidewalk, closer to the building, are they still mandatory?
Yes.
Okay, so they'll be required. They will have the usual easement that says they have to be maintained in perpetuity, and
yes,
and they will always be. That's terrific to hear. And I guess the second question, I know you've been thinking about this a lot, is like what this is sort of like grade level parking with some stuff in front of it, right? So like how does that stuff feel, I guess, active and welcoming to pedestrians? Like,
yeah.
even if they aren't going to go in it, when they walk by it, we all know that like if you just have like a blank face, it stops pedestrian traffic in their tracks. Like we can't have that.
Yes, this is something I have been thinking a lot about.
Yeah, okay.
So there are conditions that we've included where we have encouraged the applicant to really try to relate the architecture and the scale of the building so that there is a lower level that really relates to that pedestrian experience, provides clear views into the building, And there are storefront guidelines in our zoning code which work really well to encourage that.
Okay. And so when you say encourage, does that mean a preliminary plan will see it? Like it'll be delivered?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Grimes.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this matter? Anyone online? Okay, so I am going to move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of a tentative sketch plan for 727 and 731 Montgomery Avenue in Penn Valley. Plan dated April 3rd, 2024, last revised May 17, 2024, prepared by Yone Engineering LLC, shows consolidation of two parcels into one 16,079 square foot parcel, demolition of all existing structures and improvements, and construction of a two-story building with a 6,017 square foot footprint. Building will include 868 square feet of retail space on the ground level fronting Montgomery Avenue and 5,938 square feet of office use on the second floor. Plan also proposes installation of 24 at-grade parking spaces located beneath the building, installation of an underground stormwater management system, and improvements to a shared common driveway. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Whalen. Anything else from the commissioners? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand, signifying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? Raise your hands. Seeing none, any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. The next matter is a preliminary subdivision plan for 951 Idlewild Road in Gladwin. Once again, I'm told to call Charlie, but
it's taking two of us to cover for Charlie tonight, but I'm filling in.
Okay.
This is a pretty straightforward two-lot subdivision in Gladwin on Idlewild Road and Rock Creek Road. As you can see from the air photo, there's a large house in this development. It's a development of single-family homes, some of the largest homes we have in the township. It's a lot that has extra space, and even with the new zoning code, it's subdividable, and the applicant is seeking to keep the existing home and build a new home on the other lot. Let me take you through what that looks like. So there's going to be two lots. The first lot is going to be maintain the existing home, and then there'll be a new lot with a 5,000 square foot footprint home with two-car garage and a swimming pool and required stormwater management. The existing lot has access off of Idlewild Road. This new lot will have access off of Rock Creek Road. These are existing conditions. It shows the existing house on the corner and accessory building in the back. That is going to be demolished and moved over a bit. The pool will remain, and then a new lot will be put in. As you can see, there's a lot of landscaping in here. There's been a lot of conversation with some of the neighbors, making sure that this fits in and maintains the privacy of the established neighborhood. There is stormwater management that's required by code with this. It complies to all the setbacks and zoning requirements. Just showing it's in the residential neighborhood. It's very similar around it. This is almost exclusively a residential neighborhood. There are two waivers, technical waivers that are involved. One is not to require sidewalks. This is an area that is not sidewalked. It's a lot of low-stress roads, very walkable neighborhood. But what staff is recommending, and we've included a condition, that deferring a sidewalk. So at a later date, if there is ever a sidewalk network put in here or a trail network, and the Board of Commissioners feel that those improvements would be necessary, you have the right to go back and ask that applicant to do that. So it's just deferred till a time of your choosing. And then the second is a subdivision code requirement not to widen the existing road carpet. Let me explain what this means. Our new subdivision code has some standards that are differed from when this was developed. And the existing roadway narrows at the intersection. It actually acts as traffic calming. It works in the neighborhood. The saldo requires that to be an even sort of street of the same width. To widen the street in this section for this new home makes no sense by 3 feet. It makes no sense in that you would be removing trees, you would be allowing cars to go faster in a residential neighborhood, and it would really just not be consistent with what's around it. Staff supports this waiver, encourages the board to grant this waiver. That's the relief. The applicant accepts all the conditions. I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Chris. Commissioner questions, comments? Commissioner Bernheim?
So this may be the first time we've had two Ward 1 issues,
thinking that.
B&P, you know, and certainly
I think in
that
history.
Right, yeah. So I know the property and the owners. It's magnificent. Quite some time ago, I was there, and they had mentioned this idea. I was trying to persuade them not to do it. It's such a great piece of land, but they've got that right. And then, some of the issues I know from some of the other neighbors were what's going to be placed where. Somebody was concerned about a potential pool and where that would go. So that's later on down the line if indeed it's going to occur at all. This is the idea of the sidewalk. This is very walkable as it is without the sidewalks. And people, walk around there, all the time. It's not a lot of high traffic. So that also makes sense. So certainly support this going forward, although, the pipe dreams would have been to keep it as is. So thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioner questions, comments? Vice President Kramer.
Thank you. Will the note about the sidewalk be in the deed so that will it be in the deed so that
Yes.
okay.
So, it's a condition of approval, and then we're required to be put in the deed, so it runs with the land. So homeowners are aware of that's a requirement.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioner questions, comments? So let me just clarify, because the sidewalk has been mentioned. I was going to mention it myself. I favor what I believe you have recommended, which is that we defer the sidewalk.
Correct.
We don't waive the requirement for the sidewalk.
Correct.
So, that is what I would propose, because and I believe this is consistent with what we've done with other projects in the township. So I think that makes sense to go with that.
Yes.
In terms of a motion, does that require to be part of the motion to defer the sidewalk? Or is it because we're not, it does?
Yes.
But if we're not waiving the salvo,
Correct.
so
You're
we don't
deferring
mention it that way.
And it's also memorialized as a condition.
Fine. Okay,
That makes sense.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
somewhere down the line, things may change. Currently, it
Yes.
would be a silly sidewalk to nowhere.
Yes.
And it's not, as I said, it's a very walkable area. People do it all the time and with convenience. So the idea of preserving this for later makes a lot of sense. It's a good move.
Correct, that's exactly
Yep.
what the intention is. Okay, so is there any public comment on this matter?
I have one person
Okay,
on.
I forgot to make the motion. Unless, did you want to make the motion?
No, I thought that.
I didn't put it on there. I'll do it in a
Okay,
minute.
okay.
Want to do public comment?
Yes.
Okay. I have one person I put them.
Okay,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes. We can't see, though.
Would you please turn on your camera?
Okay, sure. I'm sorry, I'm in the dark. I'm with my son who's asleep, so I don't know if you can hear me or see me, but it's bedtime over here. I'm a neighbor of this property on Rock Creek Road, and.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you state your name, please?
Sure.
And then go ahead with your comments.
Yeah. My name is Akshaya Kumar. I'm a neighbor on Rock Creek Road. We live at
20 Rock Creek Road, which is immediately adjacent to the subdivision here. And we just, as the committee is already aware, we had raised some concerns about screening in the landscape plan, and we did receive a plan dated 6/10 that hadn't addressed any of our concerns. And there was an email today dated 6/11 where they said that I think they've moved 1 or 2 trees, but that is sort of not in line with the concerns that my neighbor and I have about the removal of lots of large caliper trees, really old growth trees that I think make this neighborhood really special. And the replacement trees are 2-inch caliper trees, which obviously are very different. So I know the dialogue is ongoing, but I just wanted to emphasize that we thought the condition that was identified at the previous meeting was one that's important, and we hope we can continue the discussion with the builder.
Great, thank you very much, ma'am. Is there anyone else?
There is not.
Okay, so now we need to put a motion on the table. I guess I'll do it. unless
Yeah,
you
I don't
want
know if Chris wanted to address the comment on the trees, 'cause I know.
So the subdivision code actually requires a lot of landscaping here. And as I flashed an image earlier showing that the amount of landscaping that's here, you can't replace a large tree with a large tree, but you can replace a large tree with a tree that is of appropriate species that, if planted properly, will establish to be a large tree in a relatively reasonable amount of time. So I think from our standpoint, we've looked at this as staff, we've encouraged the applicant and the applicant's landscape architect to put a lot of plant material on here, and we've actually asked them to continue to work with the neighbor. Most of the time in our residential neighborhoods, we don't require screening between similar uses. It's much like with like, people can landscape their own homes. This home coming in has an awful lot of landscaping, and it meets code requirements.
Because she is correct, there are just some spectacular trees that are.
And that's the unfortunate part when we see our infill development now, that these infill lots have really grown into almost like mini parks within neighborhoods. And it's unfortunate when you lose those, but we just don't have the ability to transplant those or move them around.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll now put the, did you want to make the motion?
Go right ahead. I'll be glad to second it after you read it.
Okay. I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of a tentative sketch plan for 727 and 7, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong item, aren't I? We already did that one. Sorry. You should have done it while you had the chance.
Yeah, consider for recommendation,
Thank
Board
you.
of Commissioners approval of a preliminary subdivision plan. The plan shows the subdivision of 951 Idlewild Road into 2 lots with the construction of a new single-family residence totaling 5,051 square foot footprint on Lot 2, which will take access from Rock Creek Road. The existing single-family home will be maintained on Lot 1, along with the existing vehicular driveway from Idlewild Road. Lot 1 will have 1.35 acre lot size, and Lot 2 will have 1.04 acre lot size.
Thank you. And before we second, may I respectfully add that the waiver from the Saldo Code to not widen the existing cartway, and also that the sidewalk is being deferred. If that's okay.
Yes, it is. A friendly amendment.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Commissioner Rossman. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand signifying aye. Any opposed, raise your hand. Seeing none, any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, now we have the certificates of appropriateness on page 87 of the packets for anyone who is following along. There are 4 of them. Would any commissioners like any of these discussed handled individually? Seeing none. So I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the following certificates of appropriateness as recommended by the Historical Architectural Review Board at the meeting held June 4, 2024. 572 Barrett Avenue, Haverford Station Historic District, 24-10, approval to renovate a freestanding garage at the rear of the property, citing Secretary of the Interior Standards 9 and 10. 65 Cricket Avenue, Ardmore Commercial Historic District, 24-11, approval to install a halo-lit retail facade sign and aluminum blade sign, citing Secretary of the Interior Standards 9. 14 West Lancaster Avenue, rear Ardmore Commercial Historic District, 24-12, approval to alter the rear facade with a glazed storefront system and install a fence-style railing on the roof above, citing Secretary of the Interior Standard 9 with a subcommittee to review installation details of the railing installation and additional product information for the proposed windows. And 362 Writers Ferry Road, Gladwin Library, Gladwin Historic District 24-14, approval to replace copper and aluminum gutters and downspouts with bronze-colored aluminum gutters and downspouts, citing Secretary of the Interior Standard 9. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Gavrin. Any commissioner questions, comments on any of these? Is there any public comment on any of these items? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand signifying aye. Is there any opposed? Seeing none, any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Next are is the Historic Commission applications on page 97. There are two of them. Would any commissioners like to hear either of these individually? Seeing none, seeing no one responding, I will move to consider, move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the following applications as recommended by the Historical Commission at their meeting held on May 20, 2024. 444 North Highland Avenue, Marion Station Class 2, 2023-R-6. Approval to revise the material selection of a previously approved rear addition, citing Secretary of the Interior Standard 10. And 70 Merbrook Lane, Marion Station Class 2, 2024-R-9. Approval to replace several non-original windows with a subcommittee to review additional details regarding materials and trim, citing Secretary of the Interior Standard 9. Thank you, Commissioner Gavrin, for the second. Any commissioner questions, comments? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none. Sorry, Greg, sorry about that tonight.
Makes life easy.
We'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand signifying aye. Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? The motions carry. We now have some appointments and reappointments. The first is on page 103, is the reappointment to the Historical Architecture Review Board of Philip Franks for a 5-year term. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions on this reappointment?
Yeah, two there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. For Philip Franks and for Julie Alexander for a 5-year term as well. I apologize to her for inadvertently missing her. Now, any commissioner questions or comments on these? So I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners the following reappointments to the Historical Architecture Review Board. Philip Franks for a 5-year term, such term to expire May 2029, and Julie Alexander for a 5-year term to expire May 2029. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Gavrin. Any further commissioner questions, comments? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands to signify aye. Any opposed, raise your hands. Seeing none, any abstentions? The motion carries. The next is the reappointments to the Planning Commission on page 104. This is to reappoint David Rosenbaum for a 4-year term and Timothy Matthews for a 4-year term. Are there any commissioners who wish to comment on these reappointments? I see none, so I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners the following reappointments to the Planning Commission. David Rosenbaum for a 4-year term, such term to expire February 2028, and Timothy Matthews for a 4-year term, such term to expire April 2028. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Woodring. Anything further from commissioners? Seeing none, is there any public comment on these? Anyone online?
No one's online now except Commissioner Churchill.
Oh, well, he could have comments. So I will call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hands signifying aye. Any opposed? Raise your hands. Seeing none. Any abstentions? The motion carries. The next is the reappointment to the Uniform Construction Code Board of Appeals. This is for Joe Gracie to be reappointed. Any commissioner comments on this reappointment? Seeing none, I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners reappointment of Joseph Gracie to the Uniform Construction Code Board of Appeals Board for a 5-year term, such term to expire November 2028. Thank you for the second, Commissioner Woodring. Is there any Commissioner comments? Seeing none, any public comment? None? I will call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand, signifying aye. Anyone nay? Seeing none, any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Finally, this is the appointment of Amanda Masucci to the, appointing her to the Zoning Hearing Board. She is currently an alternate. Are there any commissioners who wish to comment on this? Thank you, Commissioner Zelov. Go ahead.
We're very fortunate to have not one, but two very qualified alternates on the zoning hearing board, Michael Imms being the other one. And this is the only board that we appoint in which those who are appointed make decisions independent of us. Their decisions are only appealable to the county court. And so we have a very well-functioning zoning hearing board. And I'd like to point out that we have two highly qualified candidates and one is before us.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Gavrin.
As I said during the reappointment for Shade Tree Commission, we are very fortunate to have wonderful residents who are very giving of their time to make this a better township. And thank you to everyone who has applied to and serves on our advisory boards. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners appointment of Amanda Masucci to the Zoning Hearing Board for a 3-year term to expire. Oh.
I thought you had your hand up.
Just stretching.
Just mind your business.
I have to start all over again now.
Usually do it.
Commissioner Stevenson, would you like to comment?
I was just trying to help my fellow. I thought I was helpful, but I was not.
Okay.
I apologize.
Not at all. But I have to start over again. I was going to finish before 9 o'clock. I will move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners appointment of Amanda Masucci to the Zoning Hearing Board for a 3-year term to expire June 2027. Thank you, Vice President Gavrin and Commissioner Epstein for the second. Anything further? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand signifying aye. Any opposed, raise your hand. Seeing none, any abstentions? Seeing none. Thank you. Before I turn over, let me reiterate what Commissioner Gavrin and Commissioner Zelov said, both of whom stole my script. Just to thank all of the board members. I did not want to, after each of these committees, individually thank those who are willing to serve and who do serve, whether they're willing or not, on our boards. It's very much appreciated by myself and I believe all the other commissioners, and we appreciate their dedication. So with that, President Sinai, that concludes building and planning.
Thank you, Commissioner Grimes. And before we let everyone go, let me just say the following. It's a few minutes after 9, and the efficiency and speed of these meetings is just a direct tribute to all the offline hard work that's done by the members of this board and staff. And I especially want to thank the committee chairs and especially the ad hoc nominations committee, because there's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes into us just all kind of raising our hands and approving these people. And we're very grateful for their service, but there's a lot of vetting and work that goes on before they even come here tonight. Anyway, for that, that concludes our business for this evening. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
If I had seen